But in the meantime, I got somebody who might be a little bit better than the Pope. My friend, one of the founders of Revolutionary Blackout Network, an organizer for mutual aid, an activist, a journalist, one of my brothers and fellow content creators on Hotspot on X, Nick Cruse, is here to join the show. Welcome to Moats, Nick.
What's poppin'? My brother Nico, man. It's great to see you sitting in the chair there, breaking it down. Your monologue was amazing. It's great to join you today, man. What's poppin', Nico?
No, I appreciate it, man. Look, I'm just trying to keep up with you, dog, and I appreciate you taking the time to come out. I know that you had some hotspot content to put out today, and you making the time to come out and talk about some of the stuff that's happening today in the last couple of days means a lot. And speaking of which, Yemen and Donald Trump and even Netanyahu don't really seem to be on the same page. What's going on? Trump said that the fighting stopped. Yemen said, you've lost your mind. We have said no such thing. And over here, somewhere in the corner, Netanyahu is talking about completely erasing Gaza. So what's happening there?
We are seeing Donald Trump in the United States once again take another L by Yemen. The stated objective that Donald Trump laid out was to demilitarize Yemen and stop the attacks and retain control of the Red Sea. That is not what they have accomplished. And actually what happened is that the United States have lost hundreds of millions of dollars because Yemen have shot down multiple fighter pilots, drones as well. It has been a complete tactical defeat by the United States because Yemen say they will continue their attacks on Israel and they will continue to stand with the Palestinian people while Trump once again is backing down. Now they are pivoting and now they're saying that they are going to hold Iran accountable because they blame Iran for arming Ansar Allah in Yemen. So I'm telling all the people who support Donald Trump, all these fake MAGA alpha males, when are you guys going to enlist? Because Donald Trump is willing to sell out the American people and sacrifice American lives fighting another Israeli Middle Eastern war. So Marian Alderson, her investment into the MAGA project, it was a great investment because not only Donald Trump is continuing to fight the war for Israel, provoke war with Iran, he is willing to crack down on free speech. In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu has been very open about the fact that he praised Donald Trump and his administration for its crackdown on free speech. And that is happening because of the success of Yemen, because Israel's economy is in shambles. You have these massive boycotts internationally. You have young people who served in the IDF who are now traumatized, who've been outside the market. You have the Israeli settlers, the ones who can afford, the ones with the most money, they're fleeing the Israeli project. And then you had the Red Sea blockade. It is not going well for Israel. So when things are going bad, you have the West who have to rely on intense authoritarianism, which is what you're seeing with the Zionist project and the anti-Semitism hoax. It's because things are going bad for Israel. And that's because Yemen, they are doing their job as signatories to the Genocide Convention of holding Israel accountable for their genocide. And they brought Israel to their knees. The corporate media will never tell you this, but they caused a gigantic blow to the Israeli economy. And the Israeli economy, the Israeli project is only sustainable because it's subsidized by the United States, which is another example of how Zionism as a self-determination project has failed, my brother Nico.
Yeah, ain't nothing self-determined about how much money coming out of our pockets to pay their bills. It's ridiculous. And I just find it weird, right? So Trump actually said that he had a huge announcement that he was going to make on Friday, right before he sat down with the Canadian Prime Minister and said that Yemen has capitulated and that they no longer are with the urge to fight anymore. I'm like, I don't really believe that because Yemen always was to smoke. They literally wake up in the morning and are like, who are we fighting with today? I'm ready. So I don't know who believed that lie, but I said, okay, I guess I'll hear him out. But what do you think compelled him to say that? And why did he think that it would? Because Yemen already came out and said, yeah, that's not true. So what compelled him to say that lie, knowing that it could be so easily debunked? Do you believe that he actually thought that there was a deal that was going to be achieved?
It's pure coke. by Donald Trump because remember, Pete Hegseth, he was on Fox News the week they declared this attack. I still remember there was all these slop MAGA X accounts who are boosted by Elon Musk and the Zionist entity who was saying Yemen will pay, and they was celebrating the downfall of Yemen, saying that they made a giant mistake declaring war, and once again they are forced to play politics and fix the narrative because they once again failed in their military objective. I have said many times before, the United States and the idiots who run the foreign policy, they haven't won a war, they haven't accomplished a military objective in decades. They lost to the Taliban in Afghanistan. They failed to rid Korea of communism from the entire peninsula. They failed in the Middle East. They failed over and over again. They lost to Yemen, 3 times in 5 years? So it's all about narrative control. The only thing they actually do, and we're seeing Moody and India repeat the same strategy, is engage in mass civilian war crimes against civilians and killing of innocent people and using starvation as a tool of war. They commit atrocities as a way, because that's what they did in Yemen. They bombed hospitals. They kill civilians because that's the only way they can wage war. They don't wage successful war. They engage in terrorism, and that is what we're seeing the United States engage. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they engage in siege warfare, and it's actually pretty sad. It's sad. It is. They should be ashamed of themselves, the fact that they cannot fight in a combat situation, soldier versus soldier, plane versus plane, ship versus ship. The only way that the United States and seemingly the majority of NATO powers can do any damage to a society is to kill the people who are not even trying to fight. Because right now, Yemen is a militia. I would consider them more so a militia. They're using borrowed weapons with little intel. They have the intel that they have, but it's not like you're getting intel from like the Israeli military, which has the most significant intel apparatus in the world. Like, they're working with what they have, and you can't even beat Yemen. So in my opinion, I believe what is actually happening is Trump, like you said, has to play narrative control now. He is pulling out because, and Dr. William Leon gave me this theory. He said that he believes that there was a missile shot near that naval ship that dropped that jet, and they were trying to maneuver, and that's why the jet fell, because there's a chance that it wasn't hooked in tight enough, and that's why the jet fell. And after that, the top brass was like, "Yeah, no, we're done." Because we don't even know what we're here for. We can't hit them. We're not winning. Yep. They keep attacking us. And we can't keep piling up these civilian numbers without the world eventually becoming suspicious. So I believe that Trump made that announcement. Oh, we're going to stop fighting them because they've capitulated to us to justify the U.S. pulling out of a situation that they're actually losing. Because he hasn't responded since the Houthis came out and said, "Yeah, that's not true. We're still going to be attacking everybody who comes through here." So I don't know where he got that from. Trump hasn't responded yet. So he might just try to ignore it and pretend like it's not happening, which could also be part of the reason why now BB has come out and is like, we're just going to have to erase Gaza. We're going to flatten it, because there was a realization that has been made at some point between the three. We can't actually stop Yemen, and the economic damage that they're causing is real.
Yeah. And that shows that many Americans, they start to oppose war when the United States seems to be losing. And that's why you see a lot of MAGA backlash against proposed war against Iran, because anyone with 2 brain cells know that would be a disaster for United States soldiers, the same way that Vietnam was a disaster for United States soldiers. A lot of people pretend that the American people was against Vietnam from the beginning. That was not the case. A lot of Americans actually was gun-ho. Let's destroy communism in other countries, and then they saw Americans come back in body bags, and that is what caused many Americans to turn against war.
That's why many and they started getting drafted. They were like, "Oh, this wasn't supposed to be my war."
Why do you think many Republicans haven't turned against the war in Gaza? Why do you think many Americans, many Democrats haven't turned against the war in Gaza? because they see that as a war they're supporting against a weaker enemy. They're killing civilians, they're killing children. But if they actually had to fight against a true strong enemy, especially in the modern era, they're going to get their ass whooped the same way they got their ass whooped in every single modern war in my lifetime. Because the United States, they don't create soldiers, they don't create warriors, Nico. The people who signed up for the United States military, they're trying to get free college. They don't want to be a victim of the
Yeah.
student loan debt crisis. Meanwhile, if you're in Yemen, you're standing up against the empire. If you're someone who
Yep.
fighting for Hamas, you're fighting against the Zionist entity for the survival of your people. The same way with the Viet Cong, they was fighting for their sovereignty, their self-determination, their pride as a people. What's the American soldier fighting for? They're fighting for free college, free healthcare. Some
Hey,
of them
look.
are rich kids who are bored. So they're not warriors,
Yeah.
Nico.
Hey,
They're
look.
not fighting for the same
I
ways you're
don't know if you
fighting.
ever got a healthcare. Hey, if you got an emergency room bill, that might galvanize you to go fight a war. Because, boy, look, I'm trying to tell you, you could go broke having a kid. I have a friend who actually still paying off the debt from his second child's birth 7 years ago from having a kid. So I guess that could galvanize somebody into going to war. Really quick, I want to ask you, what do you make of this whole situation with India and Pakistan and the fact that it seems like no one is trying to mediate the outcome, considering that both of those countries have at least 170 nuclear weapons, and we can end up in a whole nuclear winter if it does pop off between them?
Yeah. We're seeing the results of the normalization of the war crimes that the Zionist entity have carried out against the Palestinians. That's what Moody and that's what these fascists in India, that's what they want to see carried out against the Pakistan people. And I am calling for, and I've been calling for this international anti-imperialist coalition. That's why I'm very happy to be aligned with Black Alliance for Peace, working with my brother Fred Hampton Jr. as well. That's what we build an international alliance because we have these oligarchs and members of the ruling class where they maintain their power. And if you study history, it's the same. When they had their coalition wars in Europe, they was obsessed with sending peasants and working class people to die for their power. It's a obsession of the ruling class. And Moody is a part of this alliance and agenda. And India is very concerning because they significantly weaken BRICS in their mission. And I don't think BRICS will be successful as long as
Yes.
you have a fascist entity like Moody. I am enthusiastic at heart, and I want BRICS to be successful at having an alternative system. But as long as you have India as part of this group that's always held them back, always been the black sheep in BRICS that's willing to commit these heinous crimes like they're doing against our Pakistani brothers and sisters, we will always be victims of this struggle because the global working class suffers whenever these conflicts happen. The ordinary people are the people who suffer. So that's why it's horrible to see what's going on in India and Pakistan. And it's another example why India is the black sheep in the BRICS alliance, 100%.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up BRICS because when you talking about this is supposedly a response to a gunman shooting tourists in Kashmir. They blame Pakistan. Pakistan denied any involvement. They're like, we don't have anything to do with this. And the disproportionate response seems like it was coordinated and almost ordered. And then bringing up BRICS, you have to keep this in the context of what we saw this past year where Venezuela was prepped to join BRICS and everyone thought it was a done deal. But for some reason, Brazil blocks them from joining. So now that's two countries that have veto power in BRICS that have gone rogue, alleged, and the United States is kind of quiet about it as it's going on. So it does, there was mentioned by some people that whatever happened in Kashmir could have been a false flag, and it just so happened to line up perfectly with Modi's goals and with India's goals or whoever's pulling the strings on both, where now they get to launch a full-scale operation. They're calling it an operation. Why are you launching an operation in response to a lone gunman whenever the country that you're allegedly trying to blame has said that we had nothing to do with it, and you've not even provided any proof that they've had anything to do with it? So it is possible that this could be one of the modes that they're using to take down BRICS, considering how this multipolar world is coming into shape lately.
Yeah, and you guys see how, and I've been saying this for years, what Israel has done in Gaza is going to have a toxic effect on humanity for decades and generations to come. Because what India is doing is engaging in collective punishment, and they are mass killing
Yep, that's
civilians.
it.
They was withholding water. They was withholding a large amount of the Pakistan water supply, and we know that Pakistan struggles with water. So what's that? That's them using starvation, hydration as a tool of war. Who normalized using starvation and withholding water and that kind of stuff in war? Israel. So you guys notice that Moody, a friend of Netanyahu, is using the same tactics that Israel is using. The true axis of evil, the people who are friendly with the Zionist regime, the people who are willing to engage in these acts of collective punishments, they're the true axis of evil, and that's what Israel normalized.
Absolutely true. Tell everybody where they can find you at, man.
Make sure you guys check me out on Revolutionary Blackout. Also, to drop hotspot videos with my brother Nico as well. We'll be live tomorrow. Our Revolutionary Blackout Roundtable. Me, Sabi Sab, JB Fine, and my brother Rome. We have a mutual aid event that we are planning with with my friend Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. And it may be depressing discussing all these news. We may laugh, we may even cry, but it's very important not to be infected with nihilism and allow these Zionist cocksuckers to win. So please get organized, come together, engage in mutual aid, community building, and let's build an anti-war coalition, an international anti-war coalition to defeat the thugs like Moody and the Zionist regime that has completely poisoned humanity. So thank you, Nico. You're killing it. It's great to see you here. Most man, you do great work, and you know that we're big fans. You're an honorary RBN member, as far as I'm concerned. Much love to you, brother.
You already know, bro. You already know, bro. I appreciate you, and well said, man. That was Nick Cruse, everybody from Revolutionary Blackout Network. Make sure y'all go follow him on Twitter and YouTube. My name's Nico House. This is the mother of all talk shows, and I'm sitting in for George Galloway.